just hit the record button. I don't want you to say something really awesome and us not get it.
Is you're a lot more likely to have me say something really awful and us have to edit it out. So
Yeah, true. But it's a risk I'm willing to take.
fair enough.
But how are you doing?
Tired. Yesterday took a lot out of me, and then
Yeah, what was yesterday?
that was just our first pub league of the match or of the year. We did 45 minutes of.
I say, oh, interesting, like I wasn't there.
We did 40 minutes of hurling and then 40 minutes of football. Hot day. First hot practice we've had this year. Like all of our
Man.
practices before this have either been early in the morning or like
And
at
wet?
nighttime. Yeah, and wet. And yesterday I think it was 87 degrees and the wind was blowing
Incredibly
50,
dry.
60 miles an hour.
The wind was, for me, the wind was the worst. Like, the temperature was nice.
Played some hurling and then did a little refereeing and some football and then out to East Nashville to do some socializing and then back at work this morning.
No, man.
Walking
So
up and down
you're
flights of
still-
stairs.
Yeah, still recovering. But it was a good day. Honestly, from my perspective, as just a normie. You know, I'm a regular old player. And it was fun. Good group of people out there. Lots of great energy.
How are your
Good
ankles
vibes
doing?
and all that. Better.
Okay.
Yesterday was the worst. And I've got some good bandages on them. So hopefully they're good by Memphis. I'm excited to join you guys. I don't know what our travel plans are yet, but
Yeah.
I like that you guys are like trying to coordinate everyone and get the ball rolling a couple weeks early, or at least a week and a half.
Yeah, we're also doing that. We've done a really good job at raising some money this year, and um, outside of the normal money that comes in, and we want to subsidize some of these trips, some of these travel trips. It's not like we're going to be able to do the whole thing, but like, hey, if someone's driving down, like, hey, here's $20-$40 for gas, give 3 or 4 people this, everyone pile into cars, and then if we're all going to stay at an Airbnb, hey, the club will get the Airbnb, everyone just pay back in, and
Yeah.
keep it.
I feel like that's really cool because if you are kind of balking at a $150 room, but you get $40, so it's 1/10's an easier pill to swallow. So it may get those people like just on the edge because of cost, and like, oh, sweet.
Yeah, and that's kind of the plan. Is just we decided as a board this year that if we are going to travel, like, when we went down to Tampa, everyone was kind of spread out over Tampa of where everyone was, but it was one of these things like it's so much more fun when everyone's all in the Airbnb together. When we went to Montana last year, we all stayed in a big Airbnb. I think there was 12 of us or 14 of us in an Airbnb, and it was a really good time. And now, like, the more people I think we can get to stay together, I think we'll have a lot more fun on tournaments, and hopefully have people want to travel more and more. So,
Yeah, that is. There's something you're hitting on there. Something I've been thinking about over the past couple of weeks about the sport, the grassroots clubs, the sport in the U.S. And we've talked between ourselves and some on the podcast about amateurism and professional sports that are making the shift from amateur into professional world. And really, I think the crux of that is always just how are we growing and how are other sports growing. What I'm hearing from you kind of is lining up with these kind of new ideas I'm having is that like you have prior experience on what makes a great travel experience. And you're wanting to sort of impose that on a group of players regardless of like kind of individual ones. You're kind of like encouraging a certain way because it's the best, it's going to give the best experience. And so like the root idea here is like deliver the best competitive and travel and overall experience to players, and that's what keeps them coming back around. But if you organize and execute a trip where it's kind of loose, people are disconnected, they don't have a great time at afters, or they don't have a great time traveling there, getting back, then they become less inclined to go to the next one. It's like every experience has to be amazing. And it's a perspective I didn't really have in that exact way when I was an organizer. But I'm kind of like hearing that and with what you're saying.
Over the past couple years, I've went and done a lot of tournaments just solo. Got in touch with the event organizers and been like, hey, I'm just coming out there, just throw me on a team, I don't care. Or I'll talk to a team, that I know is going, and I'll hop on with them. But like, some tournaments are just fantastic. Hey, everyone's staying here, everyone's doing this, this is the game, this is what time everyone's doing afters, we're having a brunch the next day, and then you go home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for me, I like a really structured, hey, this is what we're doing. And I also like doing that with people that I like being around, which is, the people I play hurling with. So it's like, Montana last year was the first time that I stayed with that big of a group of people all in the same house. And there was some bumps and hiccups and all of that, but overall it was just like a really great experience of coming home from the bar because you're a little drunk, like I just need some food and like to hang out for a little bit, and then like 4 more people come in, and then y'all start drinking and sitting around bullshitting and talking shit and everything. It's like, yeah, that's fun, which is a lot different like if you were just staying in a hotel by yourself, or even like a separate Airbnb, and you go home and you just, like, you're just sitting there, drink some water and then go to bed. Still a fun day, but it's a lot more fun talking shit with people. And
it matters what. Yeah. Not all players are the same, and it matters what point of life you're at, I think. And so it kind of goes along with the other thoughts, is that kind of this generational approach to your membership, where you're 18 to 35 to 40, 18 to 40 maybe, is you're delivering these amazing travel experiences, these high competition, high degree of involvement, dedication to the training. You're building these skills. It's a degree of seriousness that maybe doesn't exist outside that age bracket. Yeah. Then after that, they roll right into your casual pub leagues, beer leagues, whatever you want to call it, where it's everyone's playing, everyone's together. Yeah. And they're also contributing to refereeing and all the other jobs and roles and board leadership positions. And eventually, if you've made all those, like those 2 levels, great experiences, it's something they want to bring their families into. And then we kind of circle back around and take a decade or so, but then you have some youth development possibilities, all internal. Seeing grassroots more as we may never get to numbers in that first generation through recruitment alone. It has to be through the community and family building and stuff like that.
And I kind of feel like that we've made a huge mistake as a club, like not getting a youth program set up at some point.
Yeah, I don't know.
And so here's my thoughts on it. Like,
yeah,
I see there's some clubs in the Southeast that have a very successful youth program, Raleigh being, one of them. They have a camp in the summer. And it's a lot. And it looks like there's a lot that goes into that. And I don't know if it really would have helped that much, or if it would have hurt, but I know from talking to some of the kids that we see at recruiting events, we see them. They're from all over: Hendersonville, Bellevue, Murfreesboro, Nashville. So like, we could possibly do something like on a weekend or something, but then what I've realized is like the hurdle to get people certified to train children and get that going is a big hurdle, but it's also like the amount of kids and parents that are excited about having their kids do this once they see us like hitting around or playing. It's like I feel like we lose just this
You think it's
massive.
really? You think the numbers are really there? Like it's really possible if you get the personnel.
I don't think we would have the people like within the first year or two, but I think after that, I think it's if you have something in place,
Yeah.
and then the more recruiting events you go to, and then you do have an option for, yeah, we do have a youth program from ages, X to X, fill in whatever age range you want to do. I feel like you could easily fill those numbers within 2 years. But I also have never got to see any youth stuff, so like I don't know if do they practice, during the week and the weekends,
Right.
or sorry, do they practice during the week and weeknights, or is it hey we're only going to do 2 Saturdays a year or 2 Saturdays a month of practice, and then especially down here it's okay well all this practice is good. How do you start turning it into slightly competitive? Because
Yeah.
if you're
We
just
need to. That should be an interview.
okay, I
We should
mean,
get someone and ask them
okay,
what was Raleigh's journey before going down the youth development road. Like, had they sent teams to nationals? Did they have
yeah,
a consistent pub league? Stuff like that. Like, where were they as a club prior?
yeah. Was it? Did they have all of this stuff that they needed, or was it just?
They just kind of got it together as a.
Yeah, they found someone that was super passionate about doing that, and then
Yeah.
boom, hey, you know, what I'm seeing is it only takes one or two people to be passionate about something, and if you let them go and give them a little bit of direction, they'll, you know, they can take on the world. But
Yeah,
you got to have someone that's super passionate.
yeah. My fear with that and is how long is that sustainable, and if they leave, is it maintainable? The pace they set, can someone else take up that mantle and carry it forward?
Well, I mean that's
Will
that's really the same with any chairman that starts a club. I mean,
absolutely.
I don't see that as being any different, but I do think it's
No,
one of
but the thing it strikes at is um, the problem Nashville experienced so much of spreading ourselves too thin. So like someone has a lot of energy about something, and then the leadership changes or the role changes, and the next group isn't into it in the same ways, doesn't believe in it in the same ways, and starts feeling spread too thin, or the chairperson doesn't have the support. The last group, as personnel changes, what can the club maintain? Not
yeah,
necessarily the momentary person.
yeah. I mean that's going to always be a risk. I mean, we've had our ups and downs in the clubs or in the club, and and
So I guess what we were talking about is one person with a lot of energy, and you let them go, they can do great things.
mm-hmm.
How do you manage that? And it's a real question to you. How do you kind of manage it and release that energy in a controlled way that is sustainable?
I don't. So far, my experience has been I'm not releasing them like just go go go. What I'm
Yeah.
doing is I'm setting up every obstacle in front of them and just being like, "Hey guys, like before we do this, like I need you to do A, B, and C. Once you do those, then we can talk about 1, 2, and 3. But we can't do 1, 2, and 3
Mm.
before we do A, B, and C." And
Nice.
I have a specific thing that I'm thinking of in my head, but like, but so it's one of these things that like I'm also walking with them through all of these steps, so that if their energy does drop back, I at least have some knowledge of it, to where I can either push it forward, or there's in this particular situation I'm thinking of, there's two people. and they have fed off of each other. You know, one's had stuff come up and the other one picks up. It's been back and forth like that, and then I've always been there as well, kind of like, hey, what are y'all doing? Like, how is this going? You know, what are your thoughts with this? How are you going to push forward? How are you going to get to the next level? Okay, well, we're going to do these two things. Hey, the second thing that you want to do, we've tried it in the past. Here's all the ways that it's failed in the past. So you can try those, but if you can tell me a different way you're going to try those, don't bother doing this. If like, so stick with the one way or come up with another way to help do this, because we've tried this and it doesn't work. You can try it again, just don't spend a lot of time making a mistake we've already made.
I love the way you put that, you know, putting every roadblock in front of them you can, and then the guardrails and providing historical context. That sounds like a really healthy environment, healthy relationship, collaboration. That sounds like the ideal scenario for someone to bring something to you that they're passionate about. Say it's youth or something. I want to establish some youth.
Yeah.
That's the kind of leadership I think a club needs to have in place for that, like, individual effort to be successful.
I think it's, you know, with all of this, it's just, you need so much from everybody to, like, really get the full vibe. What?
Yeah. I was going to ask, what does the opposite look like? Have you seen in our club or in other clubs
where no decisions, like...
Well, yeah, someone's excited, they don't get the support or guidance they need, or maybe their unbridled energy is left to burst and they run, you know, they go down the bad path.
It's just where, dude, I mean, I don't know how to explain this, but I do it all the time with just different aspects of my life where I'll get 3 or 4 things going all at one time.
Right.
And you just try to chip away a little at each one instead of focusing on one main thing. Yeah.
And I remember you as having a lot of energy, but I don't really remember much about it. I'm sure there's stuff we could have done better. Do you ever think about that time?
Yeah, I mean, that's when we started the two big things I remember us getting accomplished was starting the Tennessee Hurling League and having a calendar for the year that, like, we made available to the club, and it was updated with everything that was a potential for us. Those are the two big things we did. You know, now we've
what
got
could we have done better?
I mean,
it's kind of far back, but
honestly, I don't know if there's anything we could have done better with the league. In my opinion, we were not limited by players and getting the games scheduled and the cooperation with other clubs. We were more limited by having refs, having umpires, unbiased ref and umpires. Not that anyone was biased but it was...
It's just not a question you should be dealing with.
Yeah,
it doesn't create an atmosphere for safety.
Yeah, using another ref from one of the teams that's playing, or using someone from another team that's playing as a ref.
Right, the time we did it, you'd play a half, then ref a half.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, yeah, that doesn't work, obviously. But at the time, I think the closest ref was St. Louis, and then there was maybe one in the Carolinas, right. And, you know, it wasn't feasible for us to have a ref come in, fly into Nashville or Knoxville, and then hop in a car for an hour and a half to go meet in Crossville or Jackson, and then ride back with someone and then hop on a plane, or go to a hotel and then hop on a plane for a league that we were doing that cost us $150 to get the trophy, and that was that.
That was cool, though. That was a cool league.
Yeah, it was. It was. There's talks to try to get it in, to get some more games in of that similar caliber this year, but man, the calendar's gotten so crazy with just different things going on, and trying to give 2 weeks in between each event for travel, just because not all of us are made of money, and trying to travel every 2 weeks gets really expensive really quickly. So
Totally. I got a piece of feedback from one of the members that might be a room for improvement kind of thing. Do you want to hear it live?
Yes. Please start with the person's name. Yeah. Let's hear it.
No, they said things are going great. They're more competitive and intense. And they were a part of the club before a more competitive and intense time. So they kind of, I think, joined 2022, 2021.
Okay.
They feel it sounds like updates or calls to fill something out or sign up for something are happening a day before. They're happening really close to the event. And I asked, do you think a lot of the communication is just happening in person at trainings, and there's this new expectation to just like be at training, which is a good expectation, but like I asked if the communications are probably just happening there and not making their way to the internal communications tool and stuff. He said, yeah, it's probably likely, but I don't get them until a few days before if I miss the training.
So there's two things with this. A lot of the communication is going through training and practice, and it's been very well documented that everyone needs to be at practice, because we are doing, our football team is trying to go to nationals this year. Hurling team is trying to get competitive again and eventually make that same path. For the people that haven't been as competitive and are not looking for that in the club, because I understand that there's a large portion of the club that's not looking for that. We have been posting stuff on Slack and in our WhatsApp. But here's the other thing, and the biggest thing to me. We post in there and no one reads it. And if they do read it, they don't acknowledge it. And how I know people don't read it is because I will put stuff in there like, hey, go get registered for USGA. This was before the money came involved in it. So this was before May. Go get registered for it. And registration was open, and then we had a cutoff line of when we had to have people registered by. And the majority of those registrations came in the week of registration, like the week that it was due. And it's like, why am I going to sit here and post 4 or 5 times a week, 3 weeks out, about doing something, and 90% of the people aren't going to do it. Yeah, are not going to do it to the last week. With Pub League and how all of that happens, we can't rent fields till April 1st in Nashville. And a lot of it was... So for anyone listening, we had been playing at Thursday nights under the lights at 7 to 9 o'clock at night. And a lot of that was because of something that Buckley and I did back when I was my last year's GDO. We moved when we played our games because we were having people miss weekends during the summer and towards the end of the spring because they were just traveling. They were like, yeah, we want to go somewhere. I think we were doing 3 8-week seasons, 24 weeks. From April 1st to October 31st, I think that left like maybe 5 free weekends, 6 free weekends. And so we're like, hey, kickball, softball, ultimate frisbee, all of these other sports in town do sports on other days and nights besides Sunday, so why can't we? So we made this swap to do Thursday nights. Practice on Tuesday, games on Thursday. Everyone has their weekends open. Yeah. What hurt with that was our social aspect of the club. So getting back to the league. So this year we moved it back to Sundays because we'd had some complaints that, there wasn't as much social aspect of it, and like people just don't like leaving work and going to straight and play games. Fair. Hey, let's do Sunday. Well, in Nashville, Middle Tennessee area, you were fighting with soccer leagues for everything. Every single field, you're fighting with soccer leagues. And while we were trying to get fields and get people ready for the league, everywhere that we were looking at getting fields was full. Hey, they're having a soccer thing here, they're having a soccer thing here. So we started letting people know. I would, as soon as I know about something and have it set and firm, I will try to send out a message and say, hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
But I've stopped reminding people 15 times up until the last week and a half, because it's just, from experience.
Yeah, there's no point.
Yeah. I mean, if I could get a live look really in the stats of Slack to see who's actually seen something,
yeah,
that would make my heart happy. But one of those things, this has been a pretty hectic few weeks for us, because 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, we had Cincinnati in town, and we were trying to get all of that set up, playing them, and then we had a lot of the women from all around the Mid-South area. I don't know, Atlanta, Indy, Cincinnati, Memphis, a few girls from Nashville, and but it was a good day. So trying to get that planned, trying to get the league planned, and dealing with Metro was a hassle and a nightmare, because we still
dealing with your web guy and the website being buggy.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but yeah, we did, and we still have actually 2 issues I found out about today.
Okay.
But yeah, so people problems, and then just tech problems. 2024 problems, yeah. I guess.
2024 problems. I'm sure there's the pitchforks are out for me, and everybody's like, why are we even using this website? It sucks. People aren't getting registered right. And I say, you're right. That feels accurate in the moment.
I mean,
I'll own that part. I'm the web guy, by the way.
Yes. Buckley royally screwed a bunch of people, and they couldn't get signed up. So
right,
that's just how it goes. We got it figured out, and we'll know for next time.
No, I was just gonna say I don't mind. Yeah, that's frustrating. I know it's frustrating, so I hate to be a point of frustration, or if something I made to try to help is now a point of frustration.
No, look, it doesn't bother me, because I've gotten to the point now where it's just like, we are trying our best to keep everyone as well informed as possible, and some things are going to slip through the cracks. None of us is perfect. There was also some messages in Slack about the calendar's not updated yet and the dates are wrong. It's like, yeah, well, the guy that was doing that was 6 time zones away from us and Slack and the Google Calendar. Like, you have to do the addition and subtraction of the hours yourself,
right? And
try to get it right, and
yeah, there's this. I mean, I think the things we've been talking about the last 10 minutes, it's like it's just, these aren't people's jobs. I was thinking about, shout out to Tampa and Suncoast Sevens. Shout out to Noah for picking up this sweet shirt for me.
Shout out for getting it there 3.5 months or 3 months after the tournament. But yeah.
Shout out to Johnny, our first interview. Good job on the tournament. But like, shout out to the person that ordered these, and that went and picked up the box from the screen printer, and then got them to wherever they had to get them, and set up the booth and managed the booth. Shout out to those people. And it's like, the shirts weren't ordered early enough. Yeah. And they said they were going to pick up the box, but then I had to pick up the box. They didn't update the calendar right. The website's not working. They didn't post in Slack for me to notice it, but I wasn't checking Slack. Yeah, I wasn't checking. It's like, this isn't anyone's full-time job. Everyone's doing it when they're already tired. So
Yeah.
a little bit of grace on everybody is like the way to move forward.
Well, I think it could just be phrased different. Like, hey, you know, instead of maybe putting out a mass message to everyone, just like slide into the DMs and just kind of like, hey, are these times right for the calendar because they look a little different than what we've talked about? And,
Mm-hmm.
that's another way. And, our weather right
Right, a
now,
little,
yeah,
yeah,
you know,
grace and empathy in our communications and not putting folks on blast publicly is fine. Shifting all the way back to this upcoming Memphis trip,
yes.
um, all the way back. Uh, I was thinking about how and probably me, Danny, and Patrick, we're the dudes that like the social engagement we want is like morning hotel coffee
Mm-hmm.
before the games, and then a little bit of socializing on a 3 hour car ride home, or that glass of water you were talking about, like before an early night in the hotel room. It's like that sounds like a night with no responsibilities in a clean hotel room, and like some fresh water. That
Yeah.
sounds amazing. So
Yeah, I
there's
mean,
all sorts, I suppose.
well, yeah, and you need all sorts as well. We need you guys because I'm also not worried about the three of you that you mentioned specifically being late. It's the people that I know that are going Friday night and they're not going to just sit at the hotel or sit at their house or wherever and not do anything. They're going to go out. I'm worried about them making it to the game and what. So it's trying to just manage everyone
Diversity.
at this point. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm
I
somewhere in the
see
middle.
so much. Yeah, and you've got to know it, but you have evolved a lot over the last 4 years, 5 years of your tolerance levels, your stress management, anger management, everything. Really impressed with what you and the board have been able to do, despite everything we've talked about.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year. It's we've had a lot of energy in the board this year, and I thought that was going to make it an easier year, and it's just shifted the problems to a significantly easier problems to deal with, but it's shifted it to where I'm not trying to do a million different things. I'm I'm still doing a million different things, but they're not like critical things, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, like
hey,
to
reach
me,
out and
I
get.
would guess, and you tell me if I'm
No, go ahead.
uh, tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like your problem set would have shifted just higher. So you're not so much boots on the ground problems.
Mm-hmm.
You're at the higher management kind of level, facilitating, um, you know, creating synergies,
I definitely don't do that.
bringing people together across departmental lines.
It's a lot more of, hey, I want to do this. Do you have a contact information for this person? No, I don't, but let me get you something. Hey, I'm looking for this certificate of something for the taxes. Yeah, let me pull it up in the drive. It's right here. Hey, I'm looking for this and this. I'm not doing things like, hey, there's email going around that someone was supposed to respond to, like, why haven't we responded, like all of that, like
Mm-hmm.
that main stuff. Hey, I got a phone call today from someone saying that they sent an email and they've tried calling and they haven't been able to get a hold of anybody. Like, what's the deal with that? Like, why are they having to call me? That's all like kind of stuff that's happened in the past, and now it's just minor stuff. It's still a lot of things, but they're just minor things, like offering a little bit of advice
Is
and
uh, yeah, this is the start of your new term, right? Like
Mhm.
this is you're kind of almost half a year through. Where do you want? What are the goals? And if there's numbers, awesome. But what's the goals for growth with the club, or the goals for competition by the end of your term? So a year and a half from now, where do you hope to see us?
I think this year on the football side, we had 32 players sign up for Pub League. I would like to get that closer to 50 by the end of next year. And I think we had 26 or 28 sign up for hurling. And I would also like to get that up by 50, up towards 50. I think.
What were the numbers so we can compare? Do you know what they were last year?
No,
12.
roughly, I think for football, I think we had maybe 20. I think both of them are right around 20 because I was trying to tell them that if we don't have 20 people signed up for Pub League,
right.
like, we don't need to have it because it's a waste of time. Because that's 10 on 10, you're at least going to have 3 people out every week just with random things going on. So, like,
right,
you need at least 20.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean,
so that's a great improvement.
Yes.
What else were you gonna say?
Oh, just that. You know what? I don't know. I don't remember at this point.
So you said Pub League. Were you gonna talk about travel goals or?
Yeah. I mean, the big goal for this year is getting football to nationals, which is a bigger goal than I expected because nationals in San Francisco this year. It's the farthest it's ever going to be for us. We're trying to get a team out there, which is going to cost the most. And we've already been running some of the numbers for that and what we need to do to fundraise and get it there. But before we do that, this was the example I was talking about earlier. Like, hey, the football guys came to me, hey, we want to go to nationals. Okay, well, I need to see you beat 2 out of these 3 teams that I give you. If you can't do that, then there's no sense of you going to nationals because that's my biggest fear is that we raise all of this money and we get everyone to nationals and then Friday they get beat and you just sit there Saturday and Sunday and watch everyone else play football because that's a very real possibility.
But is there anything do you see any value in it as an investment even if you lose and like kind of hardening the club's relationship with the people that travel? Even if they lose, maybe they have a great time. Maybe that makes them hungry. Maybe their investment the following year is greater. Would you see any kind of value there, or would it not be worth that?
I think going and losing on Friday and then having to sit there for 2 more days, that would drive me crazy.
You'd be like, fuck it.
Yeah, that would that would do a lot more to make me never want to go back. And I know in the past they've had shield matches and things like that, but I think last year some of the shield matches got cut. And I could be wrong on that. I obviously wasn't in Denver, but I think that was the word on the street. They got cut because there just wasn't a whole lot of time to have those. Because it's the same thing that we talked about with the Tennessee League. You need refs, you need umpires. So, like, they need to be focusing on championship games. But yeah, if you go there and if you go there for a 3-day trip and you play 1 game and get beat in the first day, it's like, man, that's a tough weekend, especially if you're traveling from, we'll call it Tennessee, the East Coast. Traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast, and then just...
What size does that travel football team need to be
for nationals? Somewhere between 20
kind of a sustained where you keep some experience around
20 to 25 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with the Pub League numbers, if you want to get to 50 by the end of 2025, what percentage of that is dual sport?
I mean, right now we had, I think, 4 players sit out during the hurling match and then 4 players sit out during football. So, I mean, you're talking...
So what's that?
Players or dual sport? Played both? Okay. No, not 32.
And is that a good thing? Like, is the split that we have now good? Like, what is good? I don't even... is it right and proper that a lot of folks are playing both?
I don't know. I've been a little nervous about that, actually, because of just different scenarios that have happened all over the U.S. of, hey, this club starts as one thing, then the other sport takes off, then they have both, and then there's a bunch of dual code players, and then an opportunity comes up for someone to go play hurling this place and go play football somewhere else. Like, then how do you split that up? Like, hey, who's getting who? Hey, someone might be better at football. Someone might be a better footballer, but they're still one of the better hurlers. And it's like,
Right.
you know, how do you split that person up? So then it becomes, what does each person want to do more? In my opinion, there needs to be better just communication between the board about what events that you're going to actually do. Like right now, we don't have the jerseys to send a football team and a hurling team to two different places. So that's you know, that's a big issue for us. We don't have enough jerseys to where if we played a football match and a hurling match here in town against an opponent that brought a football team and a hurling team down, we wouldn't have enough jerseys to even do that. Wow. So like, you know, that's another investment, and it's just, I think I would like to see. I don't care for Pub League about who's playing dual. Personally, I would like to see everyone playing both sports, even on Sunday, because it's, at this point, it's just more conditioning. And the fitter that we're going to be, the better we're going to be as a team, whether you're hurling or football, it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things for travel, I would like to see people like, hey, I like doing this more. Hey, I like doing this more. But when it comes to practice, I think you still need to be doing both of them as well. We've been doing a lot of joint practices, and it's not necessarily for whoever's coaching has to have that mindset. Go, okay, I know they're just here to be a body, and I need a body to play 50% defense during this one drill just to give them a little bit of pushback, and they're not just running down the field and taking a point from 30 yards out. Like, even if you're not a hurler, be someone that stands in a way and puts a stick up in their face and make them do that. And that's what I've been doing with football practice. I'm just like, yeah, I'll stand here and try to guard you. Like, yeah. So,
both. Well, so that's easy math. 25 dedicated, I'm a hurler. Going to do travel hurling. 25 for football. Come together, that's 50 for Pub League. Whatever. Easy peasy, nice and clean. Everyone plays both. Then they split to go travel.
Yeah, I think that's best case scenario. A couple years ago, my goal was to recruit 10 people a year, and this was for hurling when we were mainly just hurling. Recruit 10 people a year, 5 stay, and in 3 years that's a new 15.
Right.
You know, that's different. That's different. Skill level 15, but it's a new 15. And we, last year and this year, we've blown that out of the water, and we've got a lot of new people for both, obviously, football and hurling. I'm excited for Memphis because it's going to be the first time where we have a lot of people coming down to play. I think we're up to 13 or 14 now coming down.
Nice. What else, Noah? What have we forgotten about?
Just in general, or hurling and football wise?
Just in general. Any last thoughts on your mind? How's this podcast going? How are you feeling about it?
Fair to middling, I guess. You know, I know we've had some side conversations about it, and I definitely don't think that we can have too many of these podcasts where it's just us, because I doubt no one wants to listen to me and you just go over stuff all the time. We might have some admirers, but you know, we've found that reaching out to people that we don't know is become somewhat difficult, and getting them to respond to us has been the difficult part. So yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, I think a big goal for us was to reach out and talk to people that were different than us but similar to us as well. Maybe they're a grassroots club in the Northwest Division, or maybe they're a big club in the Heartland Division or the Northeast or something out there. And it's hard to reach across all these boundaries, especially when most everyone plays in their own division. Getting those contact information and all that's been a little difficult. That's how it goes. So
yeah, this, like, I mean, you're trying to run a club, and Noah takes on the job here of scheduling folks to come on and talk with us. So that's just proving to be a big task. And
Yeah. But, you know.
I appreciate that effort. I will say, I think you have a lot of good insight and a lot of great lived experience participating in the USGA, even in a relatively short time compared to some other folks.
Yeah.
So I personally get value out of picking your brain, and I observe what's happening now with this. It's bittersweet because, of course, me and Ryan Lowe were talking about this. Of course, we wish this was happening 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's more sweet than bitter. It's a joy to see the enthusiasm here. So I think it's interesting. And my creative brain is like, if I like it, that's all that matters. So I like talking and hearing about it from you and kind of interrogating you.
Yeah.
So my instinct is, I think others would.
Well, sometimes I feel
you
like
don't share that.
Well, sometimes I just feel like I get carried away, and then I've been checked so much. I've been checked so many times over the past couple years of where, oh yeah, you don't know a damn thing about anything you're talking about, that I have to like really like rein it in sometimes.
Sure.
Because, there's people in this organization that have been doing this, since before I was born.
Right.
Last year when I was in Chicago, one of the guys was like, yeah, I remember playing in Gaelic Park in '84. And I was like, cool, that's 3 years before I was born you were playing this sport. I'm going to shut the fuck up and listen to everything you say, just on a experience-wise. Like, as opposed to someone who's been involved for 5 years.
Yeah, and I totally get that. Like, to those folks, I say, like, one, come on the podcast and teach me. Tell me what I'm missing. And two, why is Gaelic sports in America still so unknown? Something hasn't been working.
Well, I think that's a product of a lot of things. Of mainly, I think it's been a thing of just like, hey, we don't need outsiders when we can just do our own thing. And if outside people find out about it, they're more than welcome to join us. But I think recently it's changed when you've had a lot of smaller or places with a lot less Irish
starting clubs.
Yeah.
Well, you told me this crazy thing. We were just, me and Noah were talking about who should we be talking to, and I wanted to talk to, is it Milwaukee?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, okay. I think it was Milwaukee. Yeah.
The Hurling.net club.
Yeah, that's Milwaukee. Yeah.
Infamous domain. And it's like, yeah, talk to someone that's been there a while, whatever. And you mentioned the chairman, and you're like, well, yeah, he's like always been the chairman. Is that the person? It's like, they just.
I don't know if that was Milwaukee or Twin Cities that we were talking about that.
Maybe I have the club wrong.
Yeah,
but like the point of the story is that in some clubs, the chairman has always been the chairman for like a decades, like that blows my mind.
Yeah, I know.
And they're not doing badly. Like, they're healthy clubs.
Yeah.
I guess when compared to Nashville. Like, I don't know if you're determining like health on how much has the club done to integrate into like non-Irish communities or spread to auxiliary city or nearby cities, or how are you measuring success? I don't know, but by compared to Nashville, they're doing good.
Yeah.
But I found that really interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of which, do you remember Ron from BlackRock?
Yeah.
He's the chairman there now.
Okay.
I've just recently talked to him. He's coming in town here pretty soon, so.
Oh, great.
But yeah, there's, I bring that up because their last chairman had passed away while he was in the chairman position. And then, they had a temporary chair, and then Roger took up. Like, I think there are just some clubs that just their board stays the same unless someone runs against them and gets tired of them doing that, or they get tired of doing the job. I know we have 2-year terms. I know you've mentioned it in the past that you wish you wish that we wouldn't have as many chairmans as we've had. As far as, like, I believe this was you saying this, that it was, hey, I wish we just have someone stay for 10 years and really get them, like, really see what they're doing, their long-term vision, instead of changing out every 2 years.
Give them some time to execute. Yeah. But it's not like there's a whole lot of competition year by year. Our thing is the chairmans need breaks. They get burnt out. Like, I couldn't imagine doing it. My assumption is it has to be easier.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it's like for them has to be less burdensome than how Nashville's doing it. And somewhere in there we can learn something. Or have a vision of where to go.
Yeah.
At the least.
Yeah. I think there's something to learn there for sure.
Yeah, we're just out here. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about. We're trying,
100%.
though. That's how it's always been. Day one, grassroots hurling. The audacity of an American to pick up a stick or pick up a football. Like, stop laughing at us and help us.
And speaking of which, the USGA's got their football team together. I think it's the junior football team, but yeah, they're going to be competing this summer over in Ireland. They finalized the team over the in between when this comes out and the last episode we did, they finalized the team.
Nice.
I think they're still trying to raise money, so go help them if you can. But yeah, it's that's going to be interesting, and I think in the future, they're going to try to do the same with hurling. Mayo was just over playing New York last weekend in football. That was a big deal. They had all the Mayo fans in Times Square.
That's the thing I keep forgetting to talk about. And we're at time.
Okay.
So we need to just note this in the podcast to hold ourselves accountable. But the next time me and Noah get together, and if it makes sense for us to talk about this with a guest, cool. But if we do another one-on-one, the question is, why do so many club founders learn about the sport while they're traveling abroad?
Yeah.
And how can we leverage that fact? That's kind of the broad question. There's some interesting partnership implications or marketing implications, tourism board implications, that as folks travel and come home, what happens. So Noah and I talked about this a little bit. I want to talk about it more.
Yep. I think there's something there. We just have to get the airport and Dublin City to get their shit together, and making everyone, you step out of customs and you go to Croke Park whether you like it or not. That's just all there is to it.
That's the new reverse Ellis Island.
Yeah. Yep. That's all Americans. That's where they have to go first.
Yeah, like GA indoctrination.
Yep. No breakfast, no nothing. Get in a taxi, go right to Croke Park, and you'll be assigned to your tour. That's it. So.
Well, no, it was a pleasure getting another repetition at this podcasting with you.
Yes, it was. We only have 9,995 left before we're perfect at this, before we're an expert.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fuck. All right.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later. See you, bud.